last video, last lesson, I talked about leading tones and target tones, and sort of just provided a really simple exercise to kind of get your sort of head around that. And also there's a PDF just available, just of explaining what the exercise is. What I like about that, and why I tend to give it to kind of students wanting to work on their playing, is it kind of starts to get your brain out of the complexity of thinking so much about which scale should you use, how do you, and all those problems that come with that, about trying to find the right scale and then trying to apply it to the right key and then having to transpose and all that kind of stuff. And taking more of an approach that here's a basic shape and here's just some way that we can get some color around that basic kind of shape. And I said at the time, just choose any chord that you happen to know. And so you can sort of choose, it doesn't really matter what you choose, it's totally up to you. But it sort of raises an interesting question, I think, as to this thing of what chords should you know and what chords are really handy to kind of have under your fingertips that you can grab. I think one of the most important things with learning chord voicings is trying to prepare yourself to be in a situation where you can grab the right kind of chord wherever you are on the neck. So for example, if I'm doing like a 2-5-1 type progression, let's say in C major, like a D minor 7, a G7, and a C major 7, I want to be really comfortable that wherever I kind of am, I can just grab those chords. So it might be 2-5-1, or 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 2-5-1. So all sorts of different ways that I can grab the chords. And once you have that kind of facility, you can also make the chords slide in and out of each other. So you, rather than sort of getting a chord and then going up to grab another chord sort of thing, you can have the voices that make up the chords that are slide to the next chord and make it much kind of smoother and more interesting. And that's that idea of voice leading and harmony, which I'll spend some more time on down the track. I think the best thing to get this type of stuff into your playing is just like what I was saying last time. The best thing you can possibly do is transcribe music, learn music from records, and learn chord solos from great guitarists like Joe Pass or people like that, who really do this beautifully well. And it's such a great thing to transcribe and get it into your head, get it under your fingers, all that kind of stuff. And then naturally, it sort of starts to come out and you're playing in all sorts of interesting ways. But to the question at hand, what chords are really handy, and what chords, should you be kind of comfortable with to be able to grab at any time? I think the best answer for me with that is to make sure you know your seventh chords. And a seventh chord is 1, 3, 5, 7 degrees of the scale. If it's G dominant in the key of G, let's say, that'd be the G, B, D, and F, the 1, 3, 5, and 7 type of thing. And the cool thing about seventh chords is that you can shift the 3, 5, and 7 and create different types of seventh chords. And what I mean by that is, like, let's just stay in G for a second. If I have a G dominant chord, which is a G, F, B, and a D, if I raise that seventh one step, it becomes a major seventh. If I start again from that dominant and I lower that third one step, it becomes a minor seventh. If I now lower the fifth one step, a minor seventh flat 5. If I go back to my dominant and raise the 5, it becomes dominant 7 sharp 5. I could lower the 5, dominant 7 flat 5. So the takeaway here is that I've got this basic kind of archetypal shape that I can kind of learn, and then also understand that I can just adjust it slightly to get different types of seventh chords. I think in terms of the different seventh chords that you should know, there's 10 that you should really have under your kind of fingertips. And there's 3 ones that are dominant, there's 3 ones that are major, there's 3 ones related to minor, and then there's diminished. So the dominance is the dominant 7, the dominant 7 with the sharp 5, the dominant 7 with the flat 5, There's the major 7th with the sharp 5, and the major 7th with the flat 5. And there's the minor 7th. There's the minor 7th with the the minor major 7th, the major 7th, but the minor 3rd. There's the minor 7th with the flat 5, and there's also the final one is just the diminished 7th. It kind of sits on its own a little bit. And so this week, I'm just going to provide an exercise to learn those, start getting used to being able to play those 10 different chords kind of thing, and being comfortable with them. The voicings that I'm going to use, and I'll do another voicing next time, but the first voicing I'm going to use is the one that's, I think it's called, people call it drop 2, I think, and it's over 4 adjacent strings. And the very first chord that I used in the exercise last time was a drop 2 major 7th chord. So there's a bit of interesting kind of theory here and slight complexity, but for the purposes of this, the key is just to kind of learn those chord shapes up and down the neck, and to get used to be able to play 7th chords in any kind of position. So if we do that, and we take if we take a major 7th, for instance, and we'll go in the key of C, and I'm just going to move it all up the neck. And so what I'm doing here is I've got the 4 notes of C major 7 that I'm starting on the low G, and I've got the 4 notes of G major 7 that I'm then starting on the next note up, which is the B, then I'm doing it on the C, and then I'm doing it on the E. So I'm just taking that exact same 4 notes and just moving them up, like doing different inversions, moving them up through the neck and playing them in different positions. But it's just the same 4 notes, kind of heading upwards. And I can play, and this means, and the exercise that I've given in the PDF is just getting used to these shapes going up the neck. So for this example, C major 7 can be played there, it 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 can be played there, 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 oh sorry, there, and then I can come down again if I want. And so all up and down the neck, playing these, all it is a C major 7th chord in different positions. But what's nice about getting used to it it sort of just challenges that thought that when a C major 7 chord comes along, I've got to go to some very particular place on the neck and play the shape that you already know, that you probably would have learned first, to sort of moving away from that to developing the skill of being able to always get hold of this C major 7th chord wherever you happen to be, sort of thing. And that's kind of the critical thing. Now, when I first started learning this type of thing, just different voicings up the neck, the first way I practiced it, I used to have this crazy practice schedule, which was kind of like, well, what I'll do is I'll start with C major 7, and I'll go C major 7, 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 all up the neck and all down the neck. And then I would go C minor 7, so I'm just taking that exact same voicing, but now flattening the 3rd and the 7th, C minor 7, C minor 7, C minor 7, and so all up and down, all up the neck. That is actually a terrible way to practice, I realize, because what you really want to make sure whenever you practice music of any kind is that it should feel like a musical experience rather than an exhausting thinking experience. And I remember doing that and feeling like really exhausted, just doing all these voicings up and all these voicings down, and then going through 10 different variations, the majors, the dominants, the minors, and all that kind of stuff. And it was just really painful. And so when you kind of get used to these new shapes, and for the moment just treat them as shapes that don't worry too much about the what they mean, what they can do kind of thing. Just treat them as new chords, as if you're learning a new chord on the guitar kind of thing. And just get really comfortable and try and do things in a musical way. Just whatever you do, you can play them however you like. So you can grab them wherever you like, play them however you want. You might do an exercise like where you could just do them in a couple of different, from a couple of different keys at once. So you could do all C major 7ths everywhere, and then all E flat major 7ths or something. It's the exact same shapes, just starting from a different position. C major 7, C major 7, E flat major 7. So that kind of thing of just mixing them up. And also, as whenever you practice, trying to make sure that you kind of training yourself to be creative with whatever music material you have, rather than just treating it like you're sort of off to the gym and like, you know, I have to do 10 of these and 10 of these and 10 of those kind of thing. So just go through slowly, learn each voicing one by one, get them under your fingers, and that's major 7th voicings. Get the variations under your fingers, like the minor 7ths, the dominant 7ths, and all that kind of stuff. Takes kind of a while to get this, but it's probably like the key next step in playing, in terms of kind of getting used to where things are on the guitar neck. And remember also that, like, we last time sort of talked about this idea that I could use target tones and leading tones and things like that. And of course I can apply that exact same exercise to any new chord that I learn. So I might be here doing it, or I might be here. I might be here. And that's different. Again, it'll just push your ears to sort of hear these kind of chord tones being resolved to from the leading tones, and it'll push your playing to different parts of the neck in a kind of a, hopefully not too kind of exhausting way. In terms of beyond that, learning more chord type stuff, I tend to, and my experience certainly was that at a certain point, I felt like I'd learned enough rudimentary kind of stuff about chord shapes. And then I kind of hit this wall of like, well, I know all these kind of chord shapes now in different positions, and I know all these dominant 7ths, but what's next? And the next thing that really helped me was being able to then starting to transcribe chord solos from records and write them out and learn them. And from then, so many of those beautiful voicings that you kind of that you find in chord solos just come from being able to transcribe it, and that kind of gets soaked into your kind of your ears and all that kind of stuff. So it's super, super handy to do that. I'll also include a few examples of great chord solos that probably are worth listening to and studying and transcribing. And I'll put that in the PDF. There's a great Joe Pass album. There's a Gene Bertoncini album, and a Peter Sprague album comes to mind. Some Jack Wilkins stuff. So what I'll do is I might just put that in the PDF as some stuff to listen to and think about transcribing. I found very much that like everything in playing, the more I actually sat down with records and learned what was on the records, that really changed the way I think about harmony, far more than learning shapes. But it's really important just to get basic kind of shapes under your fingers.